Hi everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how to display employees information in the form of HTML table from servlet. This is the table. I'm going to display employee ID, first name and last name from the employees table in the form of HTML. Let us start with developing this code. To save the time, I have already written the code and I will explain everything that I have written, and I will explain you how to achieve this. To the previous videos, to the previous servlets, I have added one more servlet. My requirement is like this. When user visits the home page, if user clicks on this, I should get a response with all the employees information in the form of HTML table. So what I have done, I have created one JSP page. JSP page is nothing but a file with the .jsp extension. I will create videos on this JSP soon, but before that it's nothing great. Just create a page with .jsp extension and you can write HTML in the JSP page. Okay, I have created a small hyperlink. I will show you the flow from here. I have created a home page, not this one, this one. I have created a home page. I have created a hyperlink and I have given the ES. ES means I have created a new servlet called employee servlet. Okay, if you go to web.xml, you can see that employee servlet, this is the servlet and servlet mapping section for the employee servlet. I have written a new class employee servlet and I have given the URL pattern as /es. So to send request to employee servlet, we have to give /es because you cannot call the servlet directly with the class name. You have to configure name for the servlet, and for this name you have to give the URL pattern. So after the web application name, if you give /es, the request will go to employee servlet. Okay, now I will show you the code I have written in the employee servlet. So what we have to do, when user clicks link here, the request is going to be sent to employee servlet. What it should do, it should hit the database, it should select the employees information from this table, and it has to populate all those objects, and then it should iterate the each and every object and display in the form of a HTML table. Okay, as you know, print writer is a connection between server and the browser. So whatever you write something into the print writer, that will be displayed onto the browser. Okay, now what we have to do, first we have to fetch the employees record. So for that, what I have done is I have created a DAO. I have created an interface with a method GetEmployees. Okay, I have created one class with employee ID, first name, last name. Okay, there is nothing great here, just setter and getter methods. So if I go to this interface, I have created a class employee JDBC DAO which implements this interface. Okay, so what is the advantage of creating the interface and writing a implementation classes? If you want to switch from JDBC to Hibernate, I will create a new class called employee Hibernate DAO, which implements employee DAO. Then in my employee servlet, instead of employee JDBC DAO, I will give employee Hibernate DAO. Okay, so actually we have to use DAO factory so that it will not have much changes. So for now, just remember that I have created one interface with a method called GetEmployees, and I have created a class which implements this DAO. So what I did here, I have written in the real-time projects, what we will do is we will write a separate class with static method to get the connection, so that in future if database URL or username and password change, if I change here, wherever the call to get connection is there, all those things will be affected. That means you need not change the modifications at multiple places. If you put at one place, if in future if username is or password is changed, I have to modify at only one place. That is the reason I have created a util class with a static method. Whenever you want a connection, just call this method from this class using dbutil.getConnection. Okay, so if you don't know JDBC, I have created one video on JDBC. You can refer that video. I am not going into detail about this JDBC. Okay, in the employee servlet, I have created a method GetEmployees. So I want a connection, right? That's why I called the static method and got the connection. Okay, and then I created a query to retrieve employee ID, first name, last name. Okay, as you know, after getting the connection, you have to create the statement object, and with the statement object you can execute the query. In the JDBC, with the statement object you can execute this query. Okay, it will give result set. Result set is nothing but a set of records kind of thing. If you iterate the result set, it will hit the database and it will get the records. So while means if there are multiple employee objects, what I'm doing here, I'm creating employee object. I will set the employee ID, first name and last name, and I will populate this employee object and I will add this into list. So if there are 10 employees, this while loop rotates or iterates for 10 times, and each time an employee object is created and that employee object gets added into the list. So then in the finally block I have to release the result set statement connection. Instead of writing the same thing at every place, I have created a method called result set, release result set, release connection, so that I need not copy this code everywhere. Instead of this simplifies the job, right? I need not write try catch everywhere in the code. Simply call the release result set. It will check if the result set is not null and it will call the close method. Okay, that is the advantage of writing separate methods in dbutil. Just call this. It will take care of exceptions and everything. Okay, now we got the from the employee DAO, I called the GetEmployees method and I got the employee list. Okay, if you see this method, it is returning the list. Okay, from the servlet I called the DAO method get all employees and I got the list. Then what I have to do to send something to the browser, what we have to do, we have to get the connection between server and the browser. What is that connection? You have to call response.getWriter. Okay, that writer object contains a method called write print method. Print whatever you send to the print method, that will be sent to the browser. Okay, now what I'm doing, I'm generating the HTML page from the servlet. Okay, I have created table, border. Can you see? If I don't give backslash, it will give a problem. So I have to escape special character. Okay, so wherever there is a double quote, I have to backslash that double quotes. Can you see? You can see that it is very complex to generate HTML code from the servlet. That is the purpose JSP pages are created. Okay, so in the JSP it is very simple to generate this HTML code. In the upcoming videos, I will explain how to do the same task using JSP. But if you see this, generating HTML from servlet is a tedious task. Wherever you get the double quote, you have to append with backslashes. Okay, now what I'm doing, I'm creating a table tag, then I'm checking if employee list has more than one employee. If there are no employees, I will show the message as employee details not found. If there are more than one employee, I have to iterate. Okay, I'm using generics here. I'm using iterating each and every employee, and I'm creating the, you know that in HTML to display a row you have to say tr, and for the cell you have to say td. So after td you have to give the value, right? But this value is runtime, so you have to get the employee id, first name last name from this employee object, right? So if there are 10 employees, this for loop iterates for 10 times. So in each iteration I will create one row with 3 cells. The values for the 3 cells come from the object emp. Okay, so after iterating I have to end my table tag. Okay, so you can understand how complex it is to generate the HTML response from the servlet itself. Actually, we can simplify this task using JSP. As I said, in the upcoming videos, I will create a video on how to use JSP to generate the response, means the employee information, using JSP page instead of generating the response from directly from servlet. Okay, let us run this. Go to homepage.jsp and click this. Oops, there are no employee details. Why? There are so many employees, but I intentionally want to show you what is the how to fix this problem. Can you see? It is saying that unable to get connection in the DAO. Why? Can you see the error? Class not found exception. I intentionally didn't add that to show you how to resolve this. So what we have to do, we have to add this to class path ojdbc.jar. Right click on the project, go to libraries, add external jars, choose jar file. You can use latest ojdbc jar. Okay, so will this fix the problem? Let us try. Click on the hyperlink, the request will go to the servlet. Oops, still there is some problem. Can you say? It is still saying that class not found. in web application you have to copy the jar file into lib folder. That is the purpose. Simply adding the jar file to build path is not sufficient. In the web application you have to copy the jar file into lib folder. Okay, remember this. Whatever the jar files you are referring in the code, those jars must be in the lib folder. Along you have to add the jar file to the class path, as well as you have to copy into the lib folder. If you see my previous videos, I have explicitly told you about this thing, that we have to copy all the jar files in the lib folder. Okay, now let us check this. Click on this. Can you see? We got response, HTML response from servlet. Who generated this response? The servlet generated this response. Let us review the flow once again. I have created a homepage.jsp. I have a hyperlink. Okay, in the hyperlink I have given the URL pattern for what? Employee servlet. So when you click on the hyperlink, the request will go to employee servlet. Then what will happen? In the employee servlet, I have created the object for employee JDBC DAO and called the method GetEmployees, and that method will return me a list of employee objects. And I am generating a HTML response. I check the size. If the size is 0, I will say that employee detail not found. If there are more than one employee, more than or equal to one employee, then I will create tr tag. Means for every employee record we have to generate one tr tag. That means one row, 3 cells, means td means cell. So I have to append that to the td tags, the value employee ID, first name, last name. So whatever you write, see, all this content, table tag, tr tag, all these things will go to browser. Okay, so the servlet created the response and send that to the browser. If you write whatever you write or give to the print method, that will go to browser. So all this content which are in arguments to the print method will go to browser. So all this HTML will be sent to the browser, and the browser will interpret these HTML tags and render the response. Okay, in the DAO, if you see, if you want to execute the example, what you have to do is, instead of coding the URL, username, password, I have created a properties file. In the properties file you have to give the database URL. If you are using MySQL, you have to give the MySQL driver name. Here I am using Oracle driver, that's why I have username, password, and you have to give the MySQL URL. And this is my Oracle database. This is the port where my Oracle is running. You have to give MySQL port here. You have to give your database name. Okay, this will change if you use MySQL. Okay, and if you observe the code here, to get the connection, I'm calling the get connection, right? If you observe the get connection, instead of coding the URL, username, password, I get those values in static block from a properties file. If you see this code, I have created one more class called properties util. it will receive the name of the properties file, and using class loader it will load the properties file and return the properties. Okay, so in the db util I am passing this file name to the properties util. What properties util will perform is it will load the properties file and return those properties. Okay, it will read the properties and create the properties object and return. So I will use those properties. You have to say props.get property and you have to provide the key. Key means if you ask properties to give the give the value, if you say db url it will give the value this one. So if you give key it will give the value. Okay, I am using class loader. In class loader there is a method called get resource as stream, and you have to give the properties file name and it will return the input stream, and you have to call properties.load to return the properties. Remember, this properties file should be in the src so that this will go to classes folder. So this class loader will read the properties file from the classes folder. Only if you keep the properties file here, then only this properties file will go to classes folder. Hope you understand. Thank you.